Hello?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for joining the call this morning.
No worries.
So a little bit of background, I guess, and then I have a disclaimer to read you before we begin. I'm working for a company that's interested in understanding the drug development landscape in Parkinson's disease and what particular needs and barriers there might be in that market for a new drug.
Okay.
And so you're about to enter a market research interview. We are required to pass on details of adverse events or product complaints pertaining to products that are mentioned during the course of market research interviews. Although this is a market research interview and what you say will of course be treated in confidence, should you raise during the discussion an adverse event or product complaint in a specific patient or group of patients, I will need to report this even if it has already been reported by you directly to the company or the regulatory authorities. In such a situation, you will be asked whether or not you are willing to waive the confidentiality given to you under the Market Research Code of Conduct, specifically in relation to that adverse event. Everything else you say during the course of the interview will continue to remain confidential. Please note that we will be audio recording this interview to help with our analysis process. These audio recordings may also be shared with the Pharmacovigilance Department in order to quality check our adverse events monitoring. In accordance with industry best practices, any audio recordings shared with the Pharmacovigilance Department will be sent in an anonymized format with no personal identifiers. So are you happy to proceed with the interview on this basis this morning?
I'm happy, yes. That's fine.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Okay. So the first topic that I'd like to cover with you just this morning is around the concept of disease-modifying treatment. So from my understanding of the current pipeline for Parkinson's disease, there are a number of treatments and developments that claim to, well, hopefully be disease-modifying. So my first question to you is, what does disease-modifying treatment mean to you in the context of Parkinson's disease? What would a disease-modifying treatment look like?
It would need to show that it reverses or halts some of the disease processes. So the difficulty in Parkinson's is that a lot of the treatments we have reverse symptoms that are used to diagnose Parkinson's. So if you give a drug that makes, a patient with Parkinson's, once they are on good medication like levodopa, they may look normal and would not actually qualify to have the disease based on clinical grounds anymore. So that's very difficult then. For instance, if somebody's newly diagnosed and I see them and somebody already gave them levodopa, I may not be able to agree or disagree with the diagnosis. But that's the gold standard to diagnose and track the disease. So that's why I think you can't really use this as a means to say something is disease modifying. So you would need to have a different marker, and there are several markers available at the moment. One would be a PET scan, a DAT scan, that shows up how much levodopa is produced in the brain or uptake in the brain. Another marker may be CSF studies or MRI, maybe a 7 Tesla MRI, but that's research-based. So I think clinically that's very difficult, and it has been difficult. The only other difference, I guess you could say, is about time. If you wait long enough, the response to treatment usually diminishes, symptomatic treatment, that is. So if you have a disease-modifying treatment, you might think that whatever drug you're giving now is as effective in 5 years' time as it was before if there was a disease-modifying component to it. But that's difficult for clinical trials, of course, because you have to wait years to see that effect.
Okay. So with all of that in mind then, do you believe that a treatment that simply delays progression, maybe doesn't reverse or halt the disease process, but lengthens hopefully that early period, would a treatment like that be valuable to Parkinson's patients?
Of course, anything. Of course. I mean, anything that delays progression, whether or not it is truly disease modifying or not. I mean, for a patient, it doesn't really matter, what the drug does. They want to feel better, and if they can feel better for longer,